So I'm Hannah, I'm Chief Exec of Plymouth Culture, and I'd like to introduce you to colleagues from Art and Energy. Naomi, Jenny, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Jenny, one of the directors.
You're not Jenny.
Oh
You're
no,
not Jenny.
This is our comedy moment. This is just to check everyone's listening.
I'm Naomi.
I'm Jenny.
Yeah.
We're from Art and Energy, so we're a community interest company. We're based in Devon, between Plymouth and Exeter, and we design, develop, and deliver creative projects around the climate emergency.
Fantastic, thank you. Super welcome here. And so we're going to run through a presentation which gives an overview of the project and the opportunity. And we'll do a bit of a double act on that with each of us answering different elements and sharing different information. As I've mentioned, do pop your questions in as we go, and we'll answer those when we get to the end. So we have a programme that we've announced called Let's Make Change. We've been collaborating with Plymouth Culture and Art and Energy for 3 years now, and in each year we have a slightly different focus. We've done a lot of work previously with organisations and venues and cultural institutions, and so this programme of work is really going to focus on working with individuals and freelancers. As we've mentioned, we're a sector development agency, so this is one of the many programmes that we offer, and our role is really about helping to create opportunities for the sector with other partnerships and projects and delivering information, advice and guidance. This is one of the ways that we do that through our kind of training programmes. Jenny, Naomi, do you want to say anything more about Art and Energy?
It's sort of succinctly there, but I'd say just describing some of the projects we're doing now very briefly, like, for instance, we are doing a renewable energy solar artwork in response to a commission. We're running a festival relating to peatland landscapes, thinking about not only the culture and heritage importance of peat, but also its function in relation to climate change. And we have what is now an 80-metre, 90-metre length of mossy carpet mass participation art project that has developed out of the peatlands a long time ago, but is one that's coming to a conclusion. So 3 very different sorts of projects that are sort of described in our summary below there.
Fantastic, thank you. Super busy partners and great to see the work that you're doing. So the Let's Make Change programme has come out of this collaboration. It is designed this year to be focused on creative freelancers and who really want to explore an idea or a project. So we're asking you to come to this with an idea in mind. The programme consists of a number of workshops, 3 workshops, 2 hours each, and that's an opportunity to connect as a cohort, as a network of people, but also to have input from both Art and Energy and other speakers around a number of different topics that would help you to gain understanding and knowledge and then evolve your project idea. To support that, there'll be one-to-one sessions as well with Art and Energy and each participant, and then a final sharing activity at the end of the programme so that we can hear from each other about the work that you've developed and the idea and how you've deployed information against that across the life of the programme. Jenny, did you want to talk a little bit about the things that might be covered across the workshops, the sort of types of thematics that will come into play?
Sure. So we're keeping it quite broad and open at the moment because we're really interested to see who applies and what your interests are. So we'll be very much trying to have, I mean, not every, hopefully all 3 sessions will be interesting to everybody, but hopefully there will be at least one which is really hitting home in terms of what it is that the individuals are interested in. On the application form, there's a little tick box question, which is asking about environmental themes that you'd like to explore further. So those include our energy systems, thinking about renewable, fossil fuel, nuclear and natural energy. And we are Art and Energy, so it's something we're particularly interested in and know quite a lot about. But we're also really interested in and have lots of knowledge and connections to do. We're talking about climate change, thinking local versus global. biodiversity loss, so the reduction in the quality of our ecosystems, biomimicry and nature as metaphor, which we've had quite a lot of fun exploring over the last few years. So that's taking inspiration from the natural world and making it impactful. I think it's always useful to think about accessibility when you're creating any artworks or any sort of cultural something that you want others to enjoy. So that's thinking about the physical and the social, working with new audiences, outdoors and indoors. Then there's also reducing the environmental impact of your practice. So it might be that you'd like to explore further different technologies, different travel options, materials and techniques, and that could be that we find some people to come in and speak. It could be that we look at those and present some ideas to the group. Actually, the chances are we're going to have some really interesting knowledge within the group, so also plenty of time for sharing during that. Then we've also got societal environmental impact. So that's the sort of things that we as individuals and organisations and households can make a change. So it's thinking about water, about carbon reduction, net zero and nature impact. Then there's the huge topic of climate justice, which is so, I don't know, so relevant in so many ways and varied. And again, it will depend. So when you're filling out your application form, please do feel free to share with us if you've got particular areas of interest or knowledge already. And then at the bottom, there's an other box because we realise that tick list, well, when Naomi and I first started to try to put that tick list together, it was about 10 times as long, and we managed to narrow it down a little. But really interested to see what everybody's interests are, and then seeing how we can fulfill those and hopefully spark and engage and inspire some exciting and interesting projects.
Yeah, the key thing is to tailor what we do to your wants and needs and inspire whatever project is coming out for the benefit of your practice or Plymouth or your place of work. So yeah.
Great, thank you. So plenty of opportunity to help inform the shape of the programme as well as for us to bring the expertise that Art and Energy already have into that. So we're looking for 15 creative freelancers to take part in the programme. That will be selected through the application process, which I'll talk a little about in a moment. Each participant will receive a grant of £150, and that is really to support your involvement in the project. That might be ensuring that you can be there and take part, whether you have barriers to access or you have caring responsibilities for which it might support, or aspects of the project development itself. So you might be wanting to work with different experts, gather information, do go and see visits. There are many ways in which you can use that grant. As long as it's supporting you and your project development, then there's real scope within that. We've talked a little bit about what we hope the programme will do for people. So we do hope that it builds that confidence in knowledge and understanding of how to create more sustainable work, and that you will build a network, not just a partnership with Art and Energy and Plymouth Culture, but also with your peers. We know from our previous programmes that has been hugely beneficial to individuals and organisations to know of a cohort of people in the city who are trying to do similar things or share similar views to them, that you might be able to call upon at later times as well. Hopefully you will develop your own project idea, but the sharing of those will be really important as well across the programme and within that final sharing session. And we hope ultimately that you continue to be, and perhaps more so, excited about, the power of what you're doing and what the cohort's doing to really help change people's perceptions towards the climate and also the actions that they might take. So eligibility wise, we're looking for freelancers who live or work in Plymouth. And as we mentioned, you do need to come with a project idea that's related to sustainability or environmental themes. As Jenny's outlined in that kind of tick list, there are plenty of avenues for this, and it might not be a public-facing piece of work. So it doesn't have to be an audience-based piece of work. It could be that you want to decarbonise your practice, or you want to learn about more sustainable materials to use within your work, for example. So it can be about you and your practice, or it could be a public-facing piece of work or project initiative that you're thinking about. Any of those are fine and eligible within this sense that you have to come with an idea. What we do require is some commitment from you. So there's 3 sessions. We need people to commit to at least 2 of those with the face-to-face workshops so that we can really build this cohort. You can build this network of peers and you can learn session to session. Otherwise, that you're sort of missing gaps within the knowledge there. That there will be opportunity for a one-to-one session, and that will be agreed in partnership with Art and Energy and individual participants. So make sure that is a time that's convenient and that you're prepared to share the project kind of development at the end of the session. Oh, sorry, skipped on one there. All art forms are welcome. So we refer to creatives as broad a term as possible. We've listed some here, but any art form and discipline is welcome to apply. We've given some dates already for those 3 workshops to really help you understand whether you're able to commit and to pencil out those times. So the 3 sessions will happen across November. We've got a building for that to happen in, and there's times already there for you. The project development will then take place, and that will be self-led. So you'll be developing that in your own time, your own space from the end of November to the end of January. There'll be one-to-one sessions then planned in with each participant and Art and Energy, which will happen towards the end of January to support the development, understand the progress you're making. And then we have a sharing session planned in for February the 26th. Again, locations to be confirmed, but the times have been put there. And we've done this in advance. We know for some that means you won't be able to make some of those sessions, but for others, we wanted to make sure before you applied that you knew the commitment and whether you'd be able to fully participate.
Hannah, may I jump in with those?
Yeah,
and
please.
say that part of the reason that we've chosen those dates in November is that they fall. First one is just before the beginning of COP30, which is the United Nations Climate on Conference, which is taking place all the way across the ocean in Brazil. But we think it's going to be a really interesting time in terms of from prior experience, there will be a huge amount in the media around climate, and we think there'll be lots of stimulation and ideas and inspiration, and some of which will be positive and some less so, unfortunately. And so we're excited to be holding it during that time for those 3 sessions. It's also worth mentioning that the Genesis building, the space that we're in, is up on the 3rd floor, but it does have a lift and it has accessible facilities. So yeah, hopefully it's a fairly central place in Plymouth in terms of transport and buses and so on for being able to get there. But again, any questions about that and accessibility, do check them in the chat and we can answer those.
Brilliant, thanks Jenny. Really useful context for that November session. And yes, and just a little reminder to put your questions in the chat, as Jenny said. We'll get to those as we progress through the presentation. So this is an application-based process. You're invited to submit using our online form. I'm going to go to the next bit because there's some information here. So the deadline is 6th of October, so you have a bit of time. We've only just launched the call last week. Please note deadline is 10 a.m. on that day. You can use the online form to submit your application. Using the same form, you can submit using audio or video formats as well. So if writing an application is not your thing, that's absolutely fine. There are other formats that you can upload to that form and that will be counted as your submission. We aim then, following the selection process, to notify participants by the 13th of October as to whether they have been invited to participate. And we'll be asking participants to confirm their acceptance of their place by the 17th so that we can make sure we have a full cohort moving into the sessions. If you need any support at all with your submission, then please contact our colleague Sabrina. Her email is there. This might be about accessing the form, it might be about information to do with participation, anything you might need to help with your submission, please do get in touch and we'll do what we can to support. And we'll answer what we can today, but if there are other things that come up across the life of the sort of open call, then please do get in touch.